We're here with Mike Sveinson from Dryden Ice Dogs on the Junior Hockey Network Hockey Show. How are you today, Mike?
Good, Jay. How are you?
Good, good. First thing, we're going to get these questions right out of the way fast about COV and that. And first thing is, what was your first reaction when you found out about the pause in the SIJHL and affecting the Ice Dogs?
Well, I mean, I wasn't surprised because that was some of the commentary swirling around politically in Ontario in the days before that were pointing that direction. But the more than anything, it's just disappointment. It's what I read an article yesterday, Jay, talking about leadership burnout in the pandemic, and I was so relieved to see that because you don't really get. I feel bad complaining about it sometimes because these leadership roles are is what I chose to do, so I shouldn't complain about it. But the difficulty in leadership in hockey lately has been the uncertainty and continuing to try to make it happen for these kids. Well, you're not really sure what the next week's going to look like, and each time it occurs, it's just a little bit more wind out of the sail. But disappointment would be the number one thing I felt, I guess, when we first heard about it in December.
And again, it's affected the whole province of Ontario. Also affects two teams in Michigan and not Michigan, Wisconsin and Minnesota for the SIJHL. But just so people know, again, Dryden. Where you guys are Northwestern Ontario. What's the cases been like up there compared to the rest of the province?
You'd have to compare on a per capita basis because, for us, when you hear about 50 cases or something like that's a lot, right? But obviously it's a much smaller population base up here. So the difference in this wave has been that for the most of the last couple of years, there hasn't been hardly any cases around here, and we go through periods of highs and lows relative to our geography. But and the same thing's happening this time, where we don't have anything like the caseload that you're experiencing in different parts of Ontario, but still the numbers are higher than they were in those earlier waves. So we have a lot more. Speaking entirely anecdotally, we have a lot more instances of saying either people have had COVID or they know someone that's had COVID this time.
And again, two more questions about this, and then we'll talk more just about your team. Is when it comes to the players after Christmas, with everything happening January 5th, did they come back, or are they still all in their homes across Canada?
They are back, Jay. So we, for a couple of reasons, we felt pretty confident that the return is imminent, and I didn't see any value in having them hanging around at home when we have some ability to do a little bit of modified programming here in Dryden while we wait for things to open back up. I didn't want to reassemble them quickly and then try and get back on the ice and compete in the same fashion that we were prior to the break. So we're working here as a team, and we are acting as if it's going to open up next week so that we're ready when it does.
And again, Vantage, I'm in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, Northern Ontario, but you're still another 12 hours north of us. But the advantage of Northern Ontario, there are ponds that freeze and lakes that freeze. So if they choose to, they can get on the ice, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's, I was at the outdoor rink last night, and it's a throwback kind of, I don't think that rink has ever been as busy as it has been the last couple of years. And people, it's nice to go out there and see people from the community and see kids still engaged in the game. And, last night you had everything out there from Adam to U13, U15, and then some of the Ice Dogs are out there with them as well.
And for the community, and for this instance, it's almost, I don't want to say good for the Ice Dogs, but get the players in the community playing and working with the kids that are younger, right?
Yeah, if you're looking for silver linings, Jay, for sure. Last night, one of my buddies, he sent a text during the day and said, okay, we're going to play against the kids tonight. And we all have U13, U15 age kids. And so the days of being able to beat them are probably behind us. So we also recruited a few of the Ice Dogs and decided that if you're 18 and over, you're with the dads.
And can I ask who won?
Well, the dads ended up kind of on the sidelines watching the Ice Dogs play the kids. How's that?
Thank God they showed up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, last question regarding all this: when we do go back and hockey does return, can the SIJHL and the Ice Dogs afford to have games like the OHL is doing without fans?
No. I mean, it's of course, speaking for the Ice Dogs, we budgeted for some worst case scenarios, but the gate is such a massive portion of our revenue, and especially the playoffs. What people, and I'm sure Jay, but what some people don't understand about it is that if 25 or sometimes as high as 40% of our gate revenue is in season tickets, that's all sold in September. All that money is in the bank in September, and it's part of our operating budget for the first half of the year. So the trick for Junior A revenue streams and massaging a budget is that you want to get to the postseason, because come game one of the postseason, there are no longer any season tickets. So everybody that 25 to 40% of your fan base that was getting in based on their season ticket, the Star is now paying. Furthermore, in Dryden, and it's similar in most Junior A markets, throughout the year we have price breaks and different ticket values. Some teams increase their prices in the playoffs, and what we do is we just make it one price right across the board. So we need to get to the playoff revenue in order to make our budgets work on a year-to-year basis. And the last couple of years, we had access to some, to some funding for that. We took advantage of the SIBA loan that was offered by the federal government. But the other thing is we can't take loans. We can't take any more loans. That's just debt that we're taking on. And my prerogative with the Ice Dogs is to leave it debt free if I chose to leave it one day. So. Yeah, we can't work on a no fans basis. It just doesn't work with the business model.
And when it comes to not just Dryden Ice Dogs, it comes to the CJHL. If you end the season with hypothetically a little bit of money in the bank for next year, you've done well as an organization, right?
Yes, sir. I mean, we've always tried to have a prudent in the account where we have the ability to deal with any unforeseen circumstances. Now, this particular unforeseen that we're dealing with is a little bit more than we ever bargained for. I was talking about if the bus broke down, or if we needed an extra $10,000 or $20,000 for something that we hadn't budgeted for. But when you're talking about replacing, ticket revenue. Each game has the ability to bring you sometimes $5,000 to your operating budget, and we lost 8 in the shutdown already.
And a question I have is to get away from, I guess we call it the COV, is when it comes to junior hockey today, and you being president and the deadline just could pass, what's changed over the years? There's not a lot of players. You guys had a little bit of player switching, but it's most PDFs now. Is there a reason for that?
So you're talking about a trend moving away from player for player transactions and more into PDFs.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't think that I can't say that in Dryden that we have any preference for either one of those. Throughout the season, there's going to be teams that are either wanting money or they have an excess of money. So I think that, for us, one thing about a PDF transaction, Jay, that's a lot easier is that if you have a player that you want from my roster and I'm willing to move him to you and I have to replace him, I might already have my eyes on somebody else's team that I would like as well. So it might be easier for me to say, okay, Jay, you just give me the money I need to get the player out of team B, and you can have my player move to your team. So that might have something to do with it. It's easier, I suppose, dealing with money. But I mean, we did a couple of player for player transactions this year. It's interesting though. I should look back at our transaction log and see exactly what the trend has been. There's been years where we've made significant player for player transactions, like 2 for 3 or 3 for 2 or things like that, and they've changed the face of a couple of teams at the same time. So, yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting thing to look at, and I'll look more into it for my own team.
And again, talking about the deadline and transactions, Rylan, Ian, Jordan, and Colby for fans are moved elsewhere for this season. At the deadline, you brought in Nakota. Is it Pinish?
Yeah.
Jordan and Cole and Ty. Talk a little bit about those transactions coming into the roster for the second half.
Well, so the pros and cons of it are that when we let go of some 19-year-old players who have another year junior experience, and that's difficult, right? Because in this day and age, it has been more difficult to put together rosters than it ever has been. So when you're letting guys go to other teams who have another year of eligibility, you're taking a gamble that you'll be able to replace them. Especially the caliber of players that we did move. They're both good players. The 19s that went, and the 20-year-olds are going to be help their teams too. That's the thing about the deadline. 20-year-olds are looking at their last hurrah. So teams that aren't necessarily in contention for championships deadlines are looking to the future, where teams that believe they are looking to the present, and you have to make trades that are in accordance with that particular year, whatever your team situation is. So the guys we brought in, like, we think are A, character guys, B, able to fill a role in our team that we thought was missing, and some of them we think are going to be able to play major minutes for us and push us over the top.
And it's something I've met Kurt when we were up there for the Memorial Cup, and something about Coach Walston. He loves his 20-year-olds, eh?
Sure, yeah. It's I think most coaches would probably tell you that they like, one thing that's important is that you want to be able to trust what you've got on the ice. So a 20-year-old is more of a known commodity. You know what he's going to do, and you know what he's going to bring every day. So Kurt's been, another thing, if you looked at our transactions over the years, there's probably a really good history of excellent additions at the January deadline that either pushed us over the top or put us in a position to go deep into playoff runs.
And it's something every week on Junior Hockey Network, we do a segment called the Shift and have a different player on each week. And when we do that, even not just your players, but other players say, what's your favorite rink to play in? And they say Dryden Memorial Arena. Now, what's with that when it comes to even opponents wanting to play against you guys in Dryden?
I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing. Maybe we're doing something wrong.
Is it the atmosphere maybe with the fans and everything, or?
Yeah, I know, like around our league, especially come playoff time, and it's been different in the COVID years now, but there's definitely an atmosphere in Dryden, so it's going to be, I think, guys at a high compete level are going to like that. They're going to like that atmosphere that the fans are. We have the seating around where some arenas have it on one side. I think that kind of increases the atmosphere here in Dryden. People talk about the feeling like the fans are kind of right on top of you here in this building. So you're either going to love it or you hate it, I suppose, and it's going to be impactful. We try to make sure that we do a good job defending our home ice, and we feel that teams come here and they play hard against us. So I don't know. I hope that our players like playing here, but I don't know if I love the idea of everybody else loving it.
Exactly. Now, with the players at pause, but hopefully with the spirits being high, what are the emotions like when the players are together? Are they getting excited that hopefully the hockey's coming back?
So when we decided to bring the players back and start some modified programming, we hosted a Zoom call with them, and I spent a little bit of time at the start of the meeting when I let them into the meeting room, just letting them talk, and it's nice to see, there's definitely a desire for these guys to be, it's a good room that we have this year, and there's a desire for these guys to be back together and working towards their goals. I think that there's some optimism, like, in the early days of this last shutdown, there was maybe some pessimism, but I think that's been replaced with optimism. So yeah, I think that they're excited. They like their new teammates. They like the direction we're going in. I think we're, something 12-1 in our last 13 or something like that. I haven't looked, but it's been a good couple of months for the team, and I think we want to build on that. These guys want to do that too.
And that's what I was going to ask is, as the president and also you being a hockey guy, can you evaluate the team a little bit and where you're sitting? And again, you always want to be sitting in first, of course, but can you evaluate where you guys are sitting going into the second half of the season?
You know what? It's the same thing. We've been really fortunate the last several years to be in the same position that we are in. I mean, we have, typically, what we're known for is being a big physical team that finishes checks and makes it difficult to play against us. But what is almost always the case as well is that we have a handful of the top scorers in the league. So, we have those things again, and like we have had for the last 7, 8, 9 years. I'm not sure how long it's been now, but we also have Kurt. So, when you have high-powered offense, when you're hard to play against, when you have a big physical team, and you got Kurt at the helm, when you're in my position, you're pretty happy, right? You're looking forward to seeing what happens. Maybe, you can't. It's impossible to win a championship every year, but we're definitely in a position where we think we can compete for one this year.
And that's exactly like last week. I had Doug Line from the Lumberjacks on, and he says, first and second half of the season are most important, but the biggest date for you guys in the SIJHL is starting April 1st, right?
Yeah, for sure. And, we just, that's where, from my position, of course, like I mentioned earlier, that's when you start talking about making money back and filling the stands and doing good for the business end of the franchise. And then, also that's when, what these guys are here for, and what we recruit for is the ability, the possibility to win a junior A championship. And that's when it all begins.
And this here is, maybe people will look at it as me jumping on my soapbox. But the biggest thing is when it comes to you as a president or myself, where I've been involved in on and off in junior hockey since 34 years ago. And the biggest thing is what I think people forget, well, it's fans, media, or anything. These are young men playing hockey, looking to move further on in their future, right?
Yeah. I think that's kind of lost, on the notion of, when we talk about the collateral damage of shutting this down. Junior A hockey is a career path. It is an education path. These guys, if we graduate 8 to 20-year-olds a year, if they're not going on to professional hockey or to university hockey, that's rare. Most of them are here because of a path towards a future. And when we were shutting down, we're hampering the ability for them to achieve that. So I don't know how well known that is. That's the. It'd be interesting to get some data on this from the SIJHL about the percentage of the players, the 20-year-old players each year that go on to either post-secondary through a hockey path or onto professional hockey at some level through their teams.
And that's exactly like this afternoon. I have another site called SiouxSports.com, and I have an interview with an OUA coach where the OUA wasn't classified as elite. Where to me, they're in school, but again, sports is one of their major things. These kids here, they should be classified as elite also, right?
Yeah. I know, Jay, and I mean, the problem is that as things have gone on, it would have been a lot more palatable if there had been similar restrictions across provinces.
Yeah.
But you can't rationalize these unique rules that are completely unique to different jurisdictions and say to your players who are saying, well, why isn't it this way in Manitoba, in the Manitoba Junior League? Or why isn't it this way in the Saskatchewan League? Why is it this way here? I thought we were following the same science. And it turns out that we're not in some ways, and it makes it really difficult to continue to quietly accept these shutdowns for these kids. Somebody has to advocate for them, right? And that's on guys like me. So I'm happy to do that for them.
And that's exactly, and I'm in the area of the NOJHL compared to you, the SIJHL. We here in our area, we were shut down as the 5th of December. So you guys got almost a full month more up there before it got to be shut down. But again, the biggest thing talking here, these are young men, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're, that's the thing. It's the other thing, Jay, that it's important about this is that, I don't think that we've done a good job of protecting our most valuable resource in the last couple of years in Ontario. And that, when we're talking about that, it's you and me are kind of inconsequential, right? At our age, when we look back at the age we are now, I'm not going to be able to tell you how much different being 45 was from being 47 or 38 for that matter. But I can sure tell you what being 18 was like, and we have to protect that for these kids. Where they have the opportunity to do this one time in their lives. For you and I, this will go on, right? The pandemic will pass, and we'll be sitting here talking about the Ice Dogs and the NO and the SI in 5 years, and it'll be nothing will have changed for us. But for them, they get one shot at it, and I really feel strongly about our need to prioritize that for them.
And as a president, it must be a little bit harder because these mom and dads are shipping their kids into Dryden for a good 8 months at least, if not more, and you're looking after them. So something as a president, as a coaching staff, that's something you guys have to look out for too, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's been easy for me, honestly, because we have defaulted by, when it comes to number one, we have to make sure that they're protected with regard to COVID, and our overarching philosophy with that, because it's been difficult throughout the couple of years, we've had a lot of, not complaints, but we've had a lot of dialogue from within the hockey community, either to do things in a more restrictive manner than what the government's suggesting, or do things in a less restrictive manner than what the government's suggesting. And my overarching philosophy has been we don't do anything different than what the government is suggesting, because that's not what I do. I have no background or right to dictate the rules whatsoever. All that I can do is enforce them, and so we have been diligent about making sure that the things that we do within our organization are exactly in line with what our province or our region is mandating, and that's been easy for us, because now we are. That if you start getting involved in saying, well, here we're going to do things differently, here we're going to go further than the province or less than, you open yourself up for criticism. Because if I feel that I have the ability to do more than what the province is recommending, and then somebody still gets sick, well, is that on me? I don't want that responsibility. My responsibility is in hockey and in business, and not in public health. So we were able to. That's how we deal with the taking care of the kids, and when it comes to COVID, when it comes to taking care of them and pursuing their dreams, that's where I advocate for having them return to the ice when the province said they would.
And a question I try to ask is the owners or the coaches. What's your thought when it comes to next fall when you see Sue Lookout added to the league? What your thoughts on that?
I can't wait. That's great. That's a good group they have there. That's an excellent group. They're passionate. I've met with them on a number of occasions, try and help them out with whatever my experience has been in failing and in succeeding in junior hockey, and kind of help them avoid those pitfalls or see what we did right. Our markets are similar, so they should be able to glean a little bit off what we do. And, we've made ourselves available to them, again, to learn from our mistakes and to hopefully do things the same way and better than we have. When you add these teams that are full of passion, all it should do is make your teams better and your league better. And plus, it's an hour down the road, so you'll have Dryden fans driving out to Sioux Lookout for a game on a Friday night, and vice versa. It's an excellent addition.
And only depending on the weather up there, right?
Yeah, the roads are closed so much now that maybe it won't be like I think.
So last thing I want to ask is, do you have any closing thoughts, or do you want to mention something about the petition that you had out, talking about that before I let you go?
No, I mean, I think that there's been a really wide share of that petition, Jay, and thank you for for pushing it out there a little bit. If I think it's at about 7,000 signatures now, and when it hits 10, I'm going to float it to government to have a look at it and see what people are saying. I'm really optimistic that we will be resuming on time, and that this season will see a normal end. It's been a long time. And so many things have happened in the last couple of years that when it's all over, we'll all look back at the different highs and lows. But I'll tell you, it has been extremely difficult to send these players home when we have been told that seasons are over, and I don't want to do that again. I think that with the place that we're at, with all the therapeutics and vaccinations and different things that we know about the virus now, plus our ability to observe that other places in the world are able to have those things in their lives and able to find ways to have their societies continue to operate in a real facsimile to the way they did in 2019, well, then why can't we? And, I've talked about, the one way that makes me see this straight is that, with due cause, we have observed the last couple of years, and I'm tired of this phrase, but it's what we've done. We've done it with an abundance of caution, and I believe that it's time for us to try to do the next couple of years of our lives with an abundance of courage, because there's been a shell shock effect on a lot of us. People that when this work from home and open up and shut down, it's been a very difficult experience for people on a mental health level, and I want to be able to see us rebound collectively at our own speed and start to strive towards some semblance of normalcy. And in my arena, pardon the pun, that's hockey, right? So I'm happy to be able to advocate on behalf of these kids and our communities, and I look forward to the second half.
And one thing I'd like to add is, when it comes to, I don't know if it's like, say, the commissioner or Nichols, or if it's something, whoever does it, how are they going to fit in? Like you say, there's 20 days that you guys lost. Schedule wise, is it going to make February, March a little bit busier?
I think a lot of those questions will get answered when we have a little more certainty on what the reopen is going to look like and when that can occur. There's certainly a desire to have the season look as close to originally planned as possible, but I can't speak to the plans from the commissioner's office moving forward. I mean, I talk to Darren all the time and work closely with them. But that's going to be a decision that will be collectively made once we have a better idea of what things look like. Well,
Mike, I can't thank you enough for taking time, and hopefully we can sit down and have a coffee or beer in Red Lake in the end of April.
I hope so, Jay. That'd be great.
We'll talk soon.